Stanford AI Lab. And as I mentioned in the talk, entrepreneurship or entrepreneurial mindset is really something that is a habit, right? Is a habit. Is really a way you look at it. Well, once you actually, that's why you see many serial entrepreneurs. Once you kind of started, then you're really looking at the world differently. So I've been in this entrepreneurial journey until now. So 30 some years, both in the US and then, spent more and more time in China. And for the last 10 years, I've been, focused on K to 12 education, mostly, leveraging education technologies and focus on the area of computational thinking and also AI. And obviously, all of you know that, well, something's going on with AI, right? But the question is really, is this AI revolution different from previous revolution? Obviously, many of you probably experienced the internet revolution, right? Is that similar? Is that different? And I want, so obviously, you need to understand the core, what makes, this revolution unique. And I believe is much more powerful than previous one. And at the core of it, and which is the topic for today's, we gave the name vibe coding, is really AI is disrupting the disruptor. So for many years, in fact, since the beginning, since the computer was invented, software always plays a role of disruptor, right? So in fact, software, whether when you think about internet, the internet revolution is really software disrupting many industries, and then obviously creating many new industries and new companies and drastically changing our life, right? So the internet, and then obviously there's previous, obviously the personal computer is also a revolution. But software was the disruptor, but now at the core of the AI revolution is that AI is disrupting software itself, and that's really makes it, this revolution unique and powerful. So if software disrupting, if AI is disrupting software, what does that mean? Is that AI can, in fact, create software and create other AI agent, and you can imagine the exponential power of this, of this capability, and which, what I'll focus, the talk on. And obviously, why does it matter to you? The reason, I guess you all here, you felt like it's relevant for you. And I think a lot of what was in a lot of parents' mind is that obviously college, but it's really beyond college. And many of you know that, the situation, I travel around the world. I'm currently in China, and the graduate in China facing the same situation in the U.S. They're finding harder and harder finding jobs, right, because of the impact of AI. So it's beyond. So the job force, the workforce is being transformed, and unfortunately, the education system, if you look at even the private school, in the U.S., in China, they are still teaching the same thing. And this is, obviously they are using AI technology, students using AI technology to learn better and faster, but the content of what they're teaching is still the same. So what I will focus on, I want to make it relatively short, is really the four things, right? So what is the real impact, right, of generative AI? And we need to really understand at the core of it, what is it? And hopefully, with that, we can, kind of look in the future, what are opportunities out there, right? So would AI take over everything and there's nothing for us to do, which is not true. And then obviously you want to be ready for that future. So what are the future-proof skills? What your children should focus on, what capabilities, skills they should develop. And finally, obviously I would talk a little bit about, how would you get there? And part of the class that we designed, in fact, for the summer, I taught a class called AI Entrepreneurship, and then in a few weeks teaching this vibe coding is along the line, how can we help students build that future skill? So how is this AI revolution different from previous one, right? So we talked about the paradigm shift. If you look at the previous, big kind of revolution, right? So from the steam engine to electricity to computer to the internet, and you can think about the mobile internet, they're all about providing tools, right? So, while obviously electricity, steam engine is a tool, and with that, human become more productive. So, but human is still in the loop, right? So human need to use those tools to create things, right? So, but AI is different with the agentic AI or the AI agent. well, obviously you can think of AI as a tool. People use ChatGPT to help them write, something. But AI now with the AI agent, they actually have skills to use tools, just like us, right? What that means that they can, on their own, create things, and they can solve problems, right? So, for example, I mean, the autonomous vehicle or the driverless car is a good example. So, obviously, with all the invention, we actually led to, well, now we have cars, and then we have electric cars. But cars are a tool. Human need to still drive the car. But now with the driverless car, well, AI is driving the car. So AI has the ability and with the skill to actually use tool to actually complete a complete task, take us from point A to point B. And this really is the at the core that makes AI revolution unique. Now, of all the ability to create, right? So in the very beginning, ChatGPT came out, and everybody was using it to create essays and make nice pictures. But quickly, in fact, at the time was the GitHub Copilot. Quickly, while the engineers, the software engineers, start thinking, well, maybe they can use it to create software, right? So I'm going to talk a little bit about that. So software for a long time was in software 1.0, for 50, 60 years, right? Since the very beginning of the computer. Software 1.0, and if the students are learning computer science, most likely they'll learn in software 1.0. They learn C++, they learn Python, Java. They learn how to use a language to tell the computer what to do. So they're teaching the computer what to do. That's kind of it's still going on, right? It's not going to disappear. But software 2.0 really start leveraging the power of neural network. It's the last 10, 15 years when the compute got to be a point where the deep neural network can actually do something useful. Now, instead of actually programmatically, you write a program to instruct the computer, you fed data to the network and then have them learn how to solve the problems, right? So you don't really program while people still program a computer who are creating the language model. But now, you as a normal programmer, you don't really program it, but you really feed data so that the neural network can learn. And that turns out to be really powerful. And so that's only the last 10, 15 years become really, a powerful paradigm for software engineer. But only in the last, I would say, definitely less than 3 years, since the LL came out, I was more likely the last year, a new paradigm appear, and Andrew Karpathy gave the name, the kind of no one really, people are talking about AI agent that can create software, create AI agent, and the name of vibe coding just came about because Andrew gave it the name. So just think, there's really, it's about name of that, but at the core of it, software 3.0 is about AI agent has ability to create other AI agent, well, to create software, and then obviously other AI agent, right? So why is vibe coding becoming the trend in the last 6 months or a year? And you think about it, right? So language model is really good at learning and creating languages, right? So all kinds of all languages, English, Chinese, and programming language is hard for human to learn, but in fact, it's much simpler in structure, and it has very precise definition. It's a perfect language for a language model to learn. And there's plenty of data, right? There's plenty of data, GitHubs and all, if you're an engineer, you know that there's plenty of data to learn from. And so then people quickly realize that one of the biggest application of, AI agent is for them to create softwares, right? It's a perfect language to learn and then can recreate. And with language models' ability to understand natural language, then that's where the vibe coding came about, right? You can put input as natural language so that language model know what it is that you want. And it really understand how programming language work, right? Instead of, you tell them to generate a poem, it would generate a program for you. And if you look at today, right, the largest AI agent company in the world, the top five, two of them, Rapid and Lovable, the amount of, I think Rapid is number one, Lovable is number 3, 4, 5, in terms of revenue, right? So you can start seeing the power comes in. But why is vibe coding relevant, right? So it's all about programming. Why is it relevant for, well, for you and for the children's, right? For your children's and for even people in college and even people who are currently in the job market. So as I mentioned, right? So if you look at uh, YouTubes and TikToks, right? They really change us from a content consumer, right? So for a long time, we watch TV, we listen to video, we watch internet and so on Netflix, but we don't create content. It's just, very seldom, very small percentage of people create content. But with the YouTube and with TikTok, well, we're all content creators, right? Particularly with TikTok. I mean, so and vibe coding, it would do the same thing for software engineering. So for a long time, well, most of us or all of us are software consumers, right? We use software, PowerPoints and all those things. But not many of us, maybe 1%, maybe 2% of us are software creators. We're software engineers, right? But that would change. And so now, as in the promotion for the talk, everyone can be a programmer, right? So and since software is the innovation catalyst, then what I start seeing is that the democratization of software development, it really would drive rapid innovation. So so that's the thing with vibe coding is really an innovation enabler. So how does that impact, the future? We start seeing the transformation, right? So again, for many years, right? For many years, we are in the goods economy. So, we still are in the goods economy, right? We produce, state things, right? Shoes and cars, and we sell them. And that will continue going on. But for the last 50 years, we have transformed, more and more, particularly in the job market, into knowledge economy. That's why your child had to, the children go to school, because, well, in order to master enough knowledge to be qualified for a job, a college degree kind of validate that, right? You go to college, you learn, and you take exams, and you get a good grade, and you want to go to better college, right? So better education, but that is start transitioning to what we call a new economy. In fact, this is given the name innovation economy. I don't know as it's a well-established name as knowledge economy, but it start people talking about innovation economy. What does that mean? Is that, well, we start seeing, right, in the innovation economy, the key is that we start seeing rapid innovation, um, uh, you know, enabled by enabled by the new AI technology, and you can kind of pinpoint that to with this vibe coding, right? Kind of the agent's ability to create agent. So when we say, well, innovation is a big deal, right? So it's like, well, what does that mean? Well, in fact, innovation obviously is a big deal, and our economy move forward because innovation. But if you look at the very core of it, innovation is about your ability to discover problems, right? A problem that obviously that's not been solved, and then your capability to actually solve the problem. If you look at, obviously, our economy is powered by this innovation. But if you look at the very core of all this huge company, right, in the world, well, they are all started with wanting to solve a problem. Amazon, they want to sell, Bezos want to sell rare books, right? Buy and sell rare books, which is difficult. YouTube, well, they want to share content. They want to share content with their friends, and then you know the story about Facebook. So, and that's really is where, so finding the problem and solving the problem is really where the opportunity lies. So I kind of, have this picture of this AI playground, right? And that's where, you can envision that's where the future lies. For a long time, um, large company has been using AI. large company like Google's and Facebook's and all those companies, they hire hundreds of programmers and they have the resource and they can benefit from AI because the market is huge, right? So it's really what I call the elite clubs of a Fortune 500, maybe even Fortune 100 companies. Now with the large language model and continue to be, in fact, the AI is the development generative AI. Now this whole elite club become a playground. And in fact, with a playground that is truly democratized, right? That the mission is $20, $40 a month, right? So that's what I pay for the Rapid, for OpenAI, for Rapid, for Google, roughly, $20, $50 a month, and become a playground. And in this playground, that's where you find the opportunity of the future. So the question, so then what we start seeing in this innovation economy, if you look at the previous innovation, obviously the major breakthroughs, right? From PC to internet, but in the previously, those breakthroughs takes a lot of resources. 5 years ago, if you want to, use the neural network to solve some problem, well, obviously you have to have a very deep technical background. You have to have a lot of money to buy the compute to run it, right? Today, it's literally $20, $50 a month, right? That's how much you need to enter the market, to enter the playground. So what we start seeing, and in fact we start seeing now, and will happen more and more, is high frequency of what we call micro innovation. Because the barrier of using the top technology today is much, much less. So which would allow, allow everyone, particularly young, in fact, high school student, college student, their cost of trying and their barrier entry trying is really minimum. So allow them what we call fail fast and learn faster, right? So they can try, by trying, they learn. So now, if you believe that's the future, right? That's the future where, innovation, right? Particularly this kind of rapid micro innovation is the future. Then the question is that, as a student, what should I do, right? Or what's your children do to kind of prepare for that? Unfortunately, well, obviously you guys, are focused on studying, class, and grade, which are important, be the baseline for college. But just think, if your student can learn that from school, well, AI can learn that probably faster and easier, right? And it's proven that, right? So AI can take AP biology, AP, whatever AP exam, they do probably better than 95%, 98% of the students, right? So what I start seeing is that the hard skill that used to be highly valued, right? Particular technical area, biology, chemistry, physics, math, they're important, but they definitely become less important. And what become really important is the uniquely human skill, what we call a soft skill. So I'm going to elaborate on this three area quickly. So uniquely human skill, which some of us call the soft skill, your ability to collaborate with AI. So AI would coexist with us, and more you would rely on AI to help you, right? So then the question, how can you make AI a better collaborator, or how can you become a better collaborator with AI, right? So that's the second. The third, which is obviously also a soft skill, but I want to call out, is really the entrepreneurial mindset, how to develop that. So about the human soft skill, right? So you probably heard of that. So I'm not going to focus a lot on this. I want to call out two things. Empathy. So in order to help you ability to discover problems for yourself and then see that this problem for other people, the empathy or EQ, it's critical, right? So in fact, if you have known about design thinking, empathy is one of the top component of design thinking. It's the same thing, right? For in general, it's really your ability to discover problem. And obviously, once you discover problem, the other one related to the problem discovery, you're able to spot, the problem that you're facing and see commonalities that, other people may see the problem. And then, creativity, critical thinking, all the other things about once you discover a problem, how do you look for solutions, right? Obviously, creativity and imagination, all this critical thinking, they all kind of comes into play. And again, so back to your ability to discover problem and find solutions. And in terms of the AI literacy, right, your ability to use AI as a collaborator or become a better collaborator with AI is it just as you if you want to become a better friend. Let's say there's someone from a foreign country that come to your school in your class. If you want to become a better friend with this person, well, understanding their cultural background and their upbringing, all those are important, to become a better friend. Same thing with AI. If you really want to become a better friend with AI, become a better collaborator, well, you want to understand how the AI brain was constructed, right? So computational thinking and your habit and your experience of actually just collaborating with AI become critical. And finally, I want to call this out, right? So entrepreneurial mindset, if you look at, the component, some of it is actually overlap with this soft skill, right? Creativity and innovation. Um, and this is, I don't know if don't know Reid Hoffman is someone that you should know, right? Reid Hoffman, he's the founder, CEO of LinkedIn. Obviously, LinkedIn, if you use LinkedIn, is the one that closest to all the job companies and job, right? So in a recent conversation, or recent talk, he had this phrase called "Every career is entrepreneurial." And being an entrepreneur does not mean that some of you will end up starting a company, but in fact, in the rapidly changing environment, whether you work for yourself, you work for a small company, you work for a big company, you're facing change, you need to adapt to it. And what the entrepreneurial mindset, if you look at, there's this kind of 6 component, is about the way you look at the world. You challenge status quo. You're not happy with what things are, right? When you see something, say, "Oh, I'm not happy." Well, some people say, "Oh, whatever, that's it. I mean, I can't really do anything." But entrepreneurial, they always say, "I want to change that. I want to make it better," right? So, and in doing that, so I gave a 3-week class last summer. It's called AI and AI Agent Entrepreneurship. We spent a lot of time around that, around this thing. And also, if you want to change something, obviously you want to create solution, creativity, innovation become important. And when you want to create something, you focus on value. Does this thing that I'm creating provide value to myself and to other people? Your ability, to call resilient and grit. You are not afraid of failure. If you look at the Silicon Valley, right? A lot of people say, well, Silicon Valley is unique. I think one of the most unique thing about Silicon Valley is that they, when you fail, they look at that as a positive thing, right? Unless you're not smart, you always learn a lot more when you fail than when you are successful. Obviously, your ability to execute, right? So we're going to come back to this point. It's great that you have an idea, but your ability to execute and turn the idea into reality becoming critical. So now, obviously all this sounds good. Well, so you're hoping that, the school should prepare your student for the future. The goal of a school is to prepare the young people for the future job market, right? But unfortunately, I think 2 things. One is that AI is changing the world so rapidly, and the school is always, education has been, unfortunately, lacking behind this adaptation cycle. So if you look at the school, well, obviously in fact, many students start taking advantage of AI to help them learn faster, learn better. But what they are learning, unfortunately, is still the thing that in fact, the parents are learning 20, 30 years ago, or when I was learning even longer ago. It's the same thing, right? Still the same physics, same math, same English, same foreign language. And well, obviously that's very good for preparing for the job that they were, for the last 50 years. But unfortunately, it's not for the job that today and for the future. So what I believe that AI is really redefining learning, not only defining what you should learn, is really redefining learning itself, right? What does that mean to learn? I believe it has taken the focus, taking learning from within the classroom to the marketplace. I mean, the marketplace meaning the real world, right? The world. So because if you look at traditional classroom learning, even at the best college, right? Some colleges better. I would say, obviously I'm biased. I think Stanford is pretty good, right? So you think a lot of people think, oh, Stanford is very, very entrepreneurial. If you look at the faculty at Stanford, particularly in the CS department, I would say not 100%, maybe 90%. They are involving with some private company. They either start a company or the advisor of company. So they are very connected to the real world and subsequently what they're teaching. And they are actually in many graduate students. In fact, I've seen many graduate students starting companies either as part, the advisor being the advisor of a company. So, but many other colleges in the high school, what they learn in classroom is really nothing to do with the real world. And that's okay for the past, I believe, right? If you focus on knowledge, but it's not okay now. So the world is really becoming your classroom. Um, and if you look at, well, realizing that, right? So, I talk to a lot of, parents, a lot of, college admission officers, and also a lot of companies, right? I was with the many company that I was involved with, we were hiring, right? We hire people, we talk to people. What we're really looking for as a employer, and you can translate that to what college, should be looking for, and that they're looking for, is they're looking for people that has passion. I think people have no passion. They're kind of like the living dead, right? So they get up every day, they don't really know what they want to do, and they just kind of go on. So obviously, they're looking for people with passion, number one. Second, they're looking for people who can act on their passion, right? So I talk to a lot of people in the US, in China. They want to start a company. 10 years later, they still want to start a company, but they didn't do anything, right? They keep thinking. And obviously, doesn't do you any good. And that's not what the school, not what the college and what the company looking for. So they're really looking for innovators trades. I mean, ultimately, right? So if you believe that in the, we currently, we're transitioning to the innovation economy, well, then who people who succeed are innovators. So consequently, the company and the school, they're looking for student innovators trade. So what does that mean? Well, you have a passion and you act on it. So as I mentioned, I taught a class over the summers. It's called AI Agent Entrepreneurship. And that's a focus, right? We want to turn students' idea, right? And people say, oh, what if my student doesn't have idea? Don't worry about it. All the students have ideas. So we have, with two programs, I have more than, I think, 60 students. Every single one had great ideas. So I'm going to highlight some of these ideas. Some of you I don't know whether it's maybe even parents or students in this class, because I taught this class with Kyros as well. So MindBuddy, one of the students here has ADHD. So he really understands the problem of an ADHD student facing. So he, in terms of helping focus, in terms of socializing, in terms of even conversation, in terms of even some of the psychological problem. So he created AI chatbot that can kind of help him as a buddy, right? So he created called MindBuddy. Niece Recovery is a student who are athlete. I think she's a runner. And she realized that, she obviously had injury all the time. And a lot of kind of the recovery routine that you can find online, even with a doctor, is not suitable, right? So she actually created an agent that kind of, you can learn kind of what kind of injury she has, and focus on giving him like exercise. Well, the AMC is a math kind of tutoring. You guys all understand that. The travel agents, many students actually do travel agents. There's a student who's a dancer, and she realized that not many exercise routine that she can find is really helping dancers. So she actually create that customized coach that kind of coach, like kind of help her with that. And we have, well, many people on cooking. So in fact, I like cooking. So I'm going to show you some of the stuff I did with cooking. One of the girls, she's one of the students, she's an avid gamer. She played this called gacha game. And she, so in gacha game, creating a team composition for the game is really important for the game. So she, an agent, helped her to create, basically create the best team, right, for a game. And just obviously one of the students is a golf, and she create a buddy. So let me kind of quickly, I know I'm running a little short of time. So let me share a couple. So this is a girl, she's really interested in fashion.
Meet your new BFF, the AI stylist that actually gets you. From skin tone to body shape, budget to vibe, we serve up full outfits, shoes, bags, bling, and the works. Style just for you in seconds. No more scrolling, stressing, or secondhand guessing. Want eco-friendly? We got you. We team up with thrift shops, indie brands, and sustainable labels, so you can look good and do good. Just tell us your budget and what you're feeling, and boom, your look is ready. Whether it's hot girl errands for states or I have nothing to wear mornings, we're your pocket stylist that slays every time. All right, so the problem is that a lot of Gen Z shoppers feel overwhelmed by choices and struggle to know what actually looks good on them, especially in an era with so many fast trends and untrusty influencers trying to get you to buy their stuff, leading to regretful purchases, returns, and overdressing for the event, or simply feeling unconfident in clothes. So, I would like to introduce Style BFF, your personal AI stylist styled for your body, budget, and vibe in seconds. Our value proposition is that
So yeah, so let me kind of, if you're interested, I would I'll share this video, but so that she actually that's well, it's obviously experience. She has a real need, and she see the need for other her friends as well, right? And this is a student who he's actually a pianist, and she actually also in his learning he realized the challenge, right, of learning piano.
Okay, so okay, I'll repeat. We're Pianist, your personal AI coach, built to transform how you practice. So we scan your sheet music, listen to your playing, and give feedback on everything from fingering and rhythm to posture, dynamics, and expression. It's like having a skilled teacher with you, anytime, anywhere. What sets pianists apart is how we go beyond note accuracy. We teach artistry, helping you build confident technique, expressive phrasing, and real musicality. Whether you're a beginner, a hobbyist, or a teacher, Pianist helps you or your students practice smarter, improve faster, and play with purpose. Let's explore how it can elevate your music journey today. Okay. So my slides aren't exactly like in the order of like I guess everybody else's order of like the target market and stuff, but it should include all the information on it. So the problem is that beginner and intermediate pianists can struggle to make progress in solo practice. So they can have trouble reading sheet music. They don't know if they're playing the right notes and rhythms. It can be hard to identify problems with the technique and fix it. And also, they don't really have a good understanding of how to play musically and expressively. And like certain pieces from certain time periods are normally like there's a certain way that you're supposed to play them, so they won't be able to know that either. And then piano teachers can be way too expensive, or they can only see them like for half an hour once a week. So those are all problems. And so here's the solution: Pianist AI, or Pianist, your own personal AI piano coach. It scans your sheet music, listens to you play, listens to your questions, and gives personalized expert feedback. Whether it can be about anything really, it can help you.
So yeah, so again, so I mean, in light of time, so let me, so over the summer, right? So there's students, and each of them, they all come with many ideas. In fact, we need to kind of help them to fine tune their idea, right? So there are multiple ideas, and we help them to kind of find the right one, and really looking at the what we call the value proposition, right? So obviously that's is a problem they have. Then can they shape the idea into something that can also help other people? And in fact, the class that upcoming class was actually motivated by this summer program because many students, well, all the students have created an AI agent and they publish it. They publish it on the open AI platform. Now, but many of them ask is, can I make this even more widely available to other people beyond the people who have access to open AI? That's number one. Number two is that can we kind of build things around this AI agent so it can engage more users, right? So in fact, that's kind of what this summer program well, this next program come about. So it's a short program, and the idea is that again, we want to connect your passion, right? Uh, with an action. So the action is that you actually develop an app, right? And then you launch it. Now, with before vibe coding is not possible. We're talking about full stack development. So it obviously takes years of engineering, learning, and then obviously you just even with experienced developer it takes months and maybe year to develop this kind of thing, right? But the good news that with vibe coding, I'll show you an example I did over evening. So that's number one. So we're focused on how obviously how AI can power this development, right? Learning how to learn how to use AI agent, and then you learn by doing it. So it's, you're driven by your passion, you develop that idea, and then you turn into a app that you can start engaging users, right? Um, and and many parents I actually gave this talk before. Many parents ask, "What's a web app?" Right? So it's a